Welcome to the Big Build. I'm Robin Clevitt and we're doing some finishing off work on the outside, which is a nice place to be if you ask me. The sun's shining and everything is going our way for once. So amongst other things, we are cladding this covered way. So this basically forms, there's a bit of storage up there accessed from the loft. So it's actually cold storage. It's not like an insulated part of the roof. That's all on the other side. So what we've got is Thermo Wood. This is one of my go-to claddings now because it's a softwood which has been treated by taking all the moisture out of it and steaming it, and it changes the molecular structure. It doesn't need any further treatment going forward. It's brilliant even in all kinds of atmospheres as well, you know, rain and all the rest of it. I've got a lot of it at home. So this is the Thermo Wood product. It's a really nice product. This is called channel cladding. So it's very soft with an eaves edge, and then it just basically forms a groove between each piece. So we're going to be doing this soffit here with the channel cladding. Now, these lengths are 3 meters. That's what we could get. They couldn't give us any other lengths. Sometimes I can get long enough lengths that I could have done this in one piece. So how I'm going to tackle this is, I'm going to take my first length from the wall and I'm going to cut it onto the nearest joist. The next one, I'm going to start at the other end and I'm going to cut it onto the nearest joist. So I'm going to have full board and an offcut, full board and an offcut, and we're going to go all the way through. So you'll see that every other board is joined on the same joist at this end and joined on the same joist at that end. The other way of doing it would be putting a full board in, cutting that board, putting the next one in, and so on. And then so you'd have a staggering join going all the way through. So that takes longer because in this instance, I can make a cutting list. I can cut all of my full lengths. So from the wall to the joist, from the oak beam to the joist, I can cut all of those now with good ends and stack them up. So I'll have, I need 14, so 7 of each. Then I'll rough cut the short pieces from the timbers and I just trim them in as I go. So I put a full length up and then with the other piece that I've got ready, measure it, mark it, cut it, fix it. So all I have to do, I will have cut all of my long ones, they'll be ready. And then it's just a matter of cutting the individuals which are from a pack already cut to size, so I say 50 mil, and then we'll fix those in as well. So I will make a gauge rod for this. Now what that is, I've got a stick here, and that stick represents how long the space is. Okay, so the cover. Now this cladding has a cover of 110 millimeters. What that means is that every course is 110. What you shouldn't do with any cladding is just jam it together. It always needs to have a recommended amount of expansion and contraction. This is really crucial. So if I did push them together, I might be at about 107, but they'd be tight like a drum. And that's really not what you want to do. So even the producers of this cladding have a recommended gauge. So it's 110. So I will mark up this gauge rod, 110, 220, 330, and so on, 440, and so on, 550. And that will give me exactly how many I need. Now it will also show me how big a rip I might need at the other end. So ideally, if you've got a very silly little rip, we actually need to start by ripping the first board, putting that up so we have an equal rip either side. And I think that's really important. On a very big ceiling, I think that's impractical because by the time you get to the other end, with all your best intentions in the world, you may creep or gain. But the other reason for using a gauge rod, just like this, is the fact we'll actually use this to mark the joist at one end, the joist at the other end from our start point, and we can ping some lines, or we can actually use it as we're fixing the timbers up. That will keep our timbers nice and straight, and it'll also keep them exactly in line. Selecting the timber. Now we know we need 14 pieces, which are nearly the full length. So what I'll do, first of all, I'll go through and I'll eye down, make sure I pick out 14 of the best, and I'll put them to one side. Because what you can get, for example, this piece here, just because it's a natural product, it's doing this from end to end, which is fine because you can push it in, cramp it up. But I think that would be great for doing the short ones. So then I'll look for everything which is really nice and true. Like that's very good, it's very straight, and I'll start selecting them. Then anything with defects like this, I'll immediately mark so I know not to use that. It's too easy to measure off one end without checking it, and I'll just do all that first. Now, we've also, while we're doing this, we've got another piece of cladding around the front which we're going to have to cut at the same time to save on time going forward. Let's go and have a little look at that. So we've got a gable here that we've made, so we've got a lovely oak gable here, and so we're going to be using a Thermo Wood all the way up these rafters from ridge to plate, all the way up and down. And so they're each one, this is a very simple job, each one butts against our oak frame here at the back and comes across to here. So it butts against the OSB gable there. So we can cut all those just a hair underneath, all ready done. All we've got to do is fix them in and do a rip at the bottom or the top, wherever we start and finish. And then after that, we've got a cladding on the gable, which is going to match the dormers up on the main roof. So that's a feather edge, sort of feather edge board there, and that's going to be going on here. So that we will cut against these ones that come in. So these ones will seal everything up, stop anything getting in. These ones will come over again and cut against it. So whilst we're doing that Thermo Wood on the other side, it's really prudent to also cut all of these. I need 17 for each side, that's 34 pieces, and they're around about 700 millimeters long. So we'll get those cut as well. So as soon as we finish there, we've got our guns set up, we've got everything set up we need. We'll drop back round here this afternoon and we'll fix those in as well. That's my gauge stick set up. So what I've actually got, that's the last piece. Now when I measure that, the cover of that is going to be 90 millimeters. Now, what that actually means in real terms is that is measured from there. So if I measure across 90, I can see that that would be my rip. I'll be taking off the tongue, which is good, and I'll be finishing against the building. Now that's so close to a full board because I'm starting with this butted against our oak frame. I think that's close enough for me to think, well, it's not worth me trimming the first board because there's no way you can pick that out. And I'll probably have to shoot it into this wall anyway. So I reckon that we'll leave that as it is. We'll start with the full board here. If it was closer, if it was more like that, then I would probably take the difference off the first board. But as it's so close, I'm going to settle for that. It's very difficult to see that when you look up that it's slightly different. So now the next job is quickly sort out the timbers, get my lengths. So what I've got is a 3-meter board is going to get me onto this one here, for example. And it's going to mean I'm just going to lose a bit off the end. So I know that these are nice and parallel because we fortunately built this whole building. So I can pop my tape measure on at both ends, measure it back to the wall. Check that again. So these are 2,955, and that gets me onto the center there. So that's the first measurement. I'll write that on there, 2,955. The next ones are going to be going from the oak beam back the other way. Let's just go and mark them out. They're going to come onto this joist here, right there, down the middle. So now we'll just check that length exactly. Again here. And these are 2,860. Again, I'll write that on there as well. Then I can check how small the ones this way are, back to the wall. So they're about 1150. So I'll cut those at 1200. So we want those at 1200. Let's mark that on there as well. And I'll just get the ends on that end, and that's it. I can cut everything then, get it all ready, select the timbers, and that speeds things up no end as well. And this end, we want to be, to get us back onto there, 1060, so I'll cut it at 1100, so I've got something to work with. And the other thing is both of those are very similar. They're only 10%, about 10% different in length. So to the eye, they'll look virtually the same once they're in. So sort the timbers out quickly. So I know from the rod how many I need. So I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 of one, and 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 of another. So I've got 14 rows. So I want 7. These are actual cuts we're going to use now. Get my tape measure back out. I always like to write my measurements on the tape. So 7 at 2,955, 7 at to 860, and then we want 7 at 1200 and 7 at 1100. So that's all we need for there. We'll get them cut. These ones are dead lengths. We can put perfect square ends on these ones. These ones, the longer ones, are the ones we want to select the best pieces for. So we want 14 good. All right, we'll get them out now, set them to one side. I think I'll bring some stools out here to put them on so we haven't got to get them in and out. So I'm going to check every single length like this, make sure they're nice and true. I'm going to stack them over on my stools over there, the exact amount I need, just to make sure we've got, you know, just the right amount of cut. That's the first job. So we're going to stack them over there. I'm going to take them out each one. We also want to put them all the right way around. So have all the tongues facing in one direction. I like to have it so I can put the groove against the fence here on the saw, not the tongue, because some of the tongues deviate slightly where they've been machined, whereas the back is super true, so you'll get a nice square cut. Face side up and good side back. That's good. Yeah, 14. We want to get the straight ones. That's like an arrow, that one. Beauty. That's a good start point. I mean, they are pretty nice. That one's nice. It's got a bit of a defect on the end, as it was gone through the thickness there. And can you see where the shoulder there? Yeah, here. Come here. If I just show that to the viewer, but it's actually narrowing down towards the end, so that's actually not that true, that one. Look on the back side as well. Yeah. Yeah, so that one there we'll probably set as a defect for cutting shorts out of. That's got a wobble in it here, that one. It's actually got a wobble in it there. Put that to one side. Yeah, you have to find that when it comes out, it sort of springs out of the machine. So the other thing as well, if you jam these up tight, where you have got a little bit of defect, it's going to throw you out. You can see now how you need to sort them out. That's an arrow, that's a long. 3 more short. That'll do for a long. I'd sooner use this over cedar any day of the week. It's just a nicer timber, if you ask me. Cedar is so expensive, it's so overrated. It's nice, obviously. People just think I'm going to use cedar because it lasts forever, but this will last as long. One more? One more. Right, and that one as well. Fine, that's good. So we've just cut all the pieces that we need for up there and round on the gable. Now, this is an interesting point because you can see that we're using an 18-volt machine here. Now, we put in a 5 amp hour battery at the beginning of this, and the light indicator, it was a fully charged battery that I put in. The light indicator was on 4. It's now, when I press it, on 2, but I'd imagine it's getting close to empty because we've cut each end of each piece. So effectively every single piece here has had 2 cuts through. It's a good stout material. It's nearly 5 inches or 125 mil wide, and it's almost an inch or 25 mils thick. So it's quite a stout material. And we've done around about 130 cuts. So it's quite a testimony to these machines, how efficient they are. Anyhow, that's it. That's all of our bits cut. So these full lengths here are fixed straight in. These ones, which go with the full lengths, we've got 7, 7 of one, and then 7 for the next row and the offcuts. We'll just measure, mark, cut, and fix as we go. So one of us will be up there going whatever length. One of us will be cutting, passing it back up, and we'll fix it. We're also going to use the gauge rod that we have. So this gauge stick represents our courses. We have a start point, we have a finish point, and what we're going to do with that is use that up there to mark the joists. We can either mark just the end ones and the middle ones, just so we've got a reference, or ping some lines down. I think I'll ping some lines down because then all we've got to do is make sure the cladding is with those lines, and then we get the exact amount of gap that we need between the tongue and the groove. First job is we're going to be removing the tongue because that's how our bond works. That'll butt up against our oak beam, which is above Ed's head there, and we're running away from that. And then what that means is when we use the rod, we'll mark up all of these joists here with some lines as reference. That means that every time we put another row up, we just stick to the lines and everything's parallel, and we end up with the and parallel cladding all the way through. So Ed's going to rip this one through, knock all the back off now. Nicely done, nicely done. And just do one of the shorter of the two shorts, if you do that one next. There you go, done. We just had a visitor, look, he's a male model. How about that, eh? Wow, this is the man who knows everything there is to know about timber and roofs. There you go, timber frame.
And fashion.
And fashion. Fashion, look, he's rocking some sticks in glue pots. Sticks in glue pots, nice one. Nice to see you, Ian.
And you.
So I've got the rod or the gauge stick or whatever you want to call it, and the idea is I'm going to butt it against our start point here, which is lovely and straight. This oak beam we made, we didn't make it, God grew it, I suppose, and then we just cut it down and made something out of it. There we go. So we're going to just transfer our gauge all the way along here. We're going to do that at both ends. We'll ping some lines down, and that is effectively when we put the first board in, that's the back. Then we put the next one in, that's the back. So we can obviously see where we're going, so we're not going to push them up too tight. And most importantly, when we get to the other side, we've got a fairly parallel rip, which is exactly what we want. Reason why I always draw an arrow is because if you get it the wrong way around, it's all going to go bad. And the other thing is, you don't want to be using a tape measure upside down if you can help it. Everything goes a bit bandy then. There we go. Right, we'll ping some lines over there. Tell me when you're ready, Ed.
That's me.
Yeah. Get the next one. Yeah.
Yeah.
Get the next one. Yeah.
Yeah.
And the next one. This is a nice string line, Ed.
Yeah.
What is it?
Tajima.
Tajima. Yeah, that's not bad at all, is it? All right. I'll put some more chalk through. Get a few more. All right.
Yeah.
So if we put the first couple of rows in, if you take that in by the wall,
yeah.
What you need to do is just make sure we try it in, and if there's any snots there that need to be scraped, we just carefully scrape them, but not deeper than the first one is the long one. We're going from this corner. So if you get in here first, put it round. Make sure this is on.
You got the gun.
So your first job is just to check that how it fits.
It's tight on the left. Are we scribing or?
Well, generally speaking, just slide it along and knock it, because that's probably a soft edge, that cladding. Then have a look at it. We're going to put 2 fixings in on each one, all right?
Yeah.
Try to get them as even as you can. All right, that's good. Okay, I'll get the next bit. I'll get the first of the shortcut. I'll actually hold it in and mark it in situ for what it's worth. Cut this one in. And that's it, perfect there. Okay.
Yeah.
So that's it, perfect. Now, what you find is they sometimes will take a little bit of knocking up, and so you need to give them a little bit of angle. There we go. And then maybe a rubber mallet from one end,
Okay.
and it'll follow the groove, all right?
Have you got the board?
Yeah, I got it. Go on. That's it, you keep yours in now. And it's only a gentle tap that we need,
Yeah.
because if it any more than that. Now, you see the mark, the blue line now?
Yeah.
Yeah? I'll start by getting it on mine. All right, I'm good for going here. And then just sight your fixings through and make sure all your fixings are somewhere near in line if you can.
Yeah.
And then you'll pull yours out to your blue line.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, that's why the so that's good on the next one. If you can see that, I can move it along if you like. I'll swap with you for a minute. Take this one, I'll cut the next one in.
Okay.
It's this one, is it?
Yep.
Yeah?
Yeah.
All right.
That fits nice, that one.
Yeah, straight back to the blue.
Can it go to you a bit?
If you want to tap it. All right, pull it out a bit. Just a bit there, stop, back in a bit. I'll get that there. All right, all yours. I'll get the next bit done. Just get me, let me get this end, Ed.
Yeah.
Hold on a minute. Hi. Sorry?
This wood is, you don't have to do anything with it, do you?
No, it's beautiful. Thermo Wood.
Before it came on site. No, was it fur?
No, it's treated with steam.
Really?
Yeah, so basically they suck all of the moisture out of it, and then they steam it, and it changes the molecular structure of the timber, which resists insect attack,
Yeah.
and it weathers really well. So this is just a standard softwood that you'd never use outside on its own without anything on it.
Wow, that's standard softwood.
This is, yeah, it's just a fast-grown redwood. But it's beautiful, and it's because it's very stable, because they control the moisture content. You can put it up and it stays perfect for pretty much forever. And I've used it for the last 18 years, and I've got one building that I built which I still own, and it's in contact with the earth at the bottom, the last row, and it's fine. So
That's amazing.
Yeah, it's silvers. It goes silver if you leave it like that. Went silver. You see, that was the same colour as that once, but in this instance, it won't silver. It will just stay this lovely colour, and it's through and through.
And this is going to be on the inside of the
Up and down the
porchway,
porch, yeah,
Oh yes.
but the back bit will be black.
to match the others, yeah, like the same
Like
as the
here.
gables, yeah.
Oh, I see. Golden berries.
Very good.
I don't know when you
Never heard of that.
Yeah, it's amazing,
Is it?
and it's just beautiful.
I can show you in the kitchen.
And compared to cedar, it's about a quarter of the price. Cedar's just overrated. People think they should have cedar, but actually cedar rots just as quick as any other timber if it's used incorrectly.
And it's not a new technology. You say
No, I mean the Scandinavians have been using it for ages. In fact, this is probably it is done in the UK now, but most of it comes from Scandinavia. But,
they've got the trees growing faster.
No, they've just been ahead of us.
yeah, and they still are, and they still
Insulation and all sorts of stuff.
yeah, they are they are because their climate dictates it and
Yep,
what their
absolutely.
raw materials, craftsmanship, you know. You go out to the suburbs of Finland and Sweden and Norway, well, they don't have any brick buildings. I mean, that's ridiculous. It's all timber. Everything's just timber, everything.
Burn, though.
No.
Sort of scares me. Burn down.
Yeah, we've had enough fire.
See the solar panels.
Yeah, they were in.
Oh yeah. I couldn't remember.
Yeah, that's what they were in.
He's just spraying upstairs, so we can't go up.
So we've actually got all of this section up now, and it was super easy because of the fact that we'd already cut our long ones, and all we had to do was trim the short pieces. Let me come around this way and look back. So yeah, there you go. We've got a lovely little shadow gap at the side wall there. It's where we were able to get a full length board in and just get the tongue and the groove in. So that was worked out really nicely as well. So the light positions are done. And we're just about to head round the front and do, let me go around the front, we're just about to head round the front and do the gable, which won't take very long. We left the easiest bit till last. It's literally a matter of hopping up on those really nice long steps there. One of us will hold the steps and pass up the bits, and we're going to clad all the way down there from top to bottom and then put a little ripped up stand at the very bottom. So it's a very simple, quick job to do. Ed's just taking the tongues off the top two. We're going to start the ridge and work our way down, and at the bottom we're going to finish with an upright rip to neaten it all up. So we've got all the pieces cut. Ed's at the top of the steps now. He can actually reach, and he's got the gauge rod. He's putting it against the initial ones, and all he's going to do is simply mark the rafter here, and he's going to take it out to the outside one. And then when he puts each bit of cladding up, he just makes sure he's with those marks, and then when we get to the bottom we'll have on the same rip either side, so it won't look any different, because you will gain and you will lose a few millimetres here and there, and that's all to do with the fact that cladding isn't an exact science. It goes through the machine the same way. If the moisture content is slightly different on some bits, then it might be a bit fatter or a bit thinner and you gain and lose. That's why we always work to a gauge. So he's going to do that on both sides, and then we'll basically just, I'll pass them up, he'll file them in, and the job will be a good one. So we've got all the way down to this section. We're flying through it. We've also got a couple of downlighters that we've positioned and drilled out as well, and that's a lovely job there. Look, we've actually allowed for the thickness of the cladding that will go on that gable to make sure that lights are obviously positioned in the middle. And we've also run it on that strip of cladding that's in line with our strut from the front of the gable, if you like, from the truss. So I think that's a quite nice detail as well. So Ed's just going through now, pinning these onto the gauge rod so he knows he's all nice and square. And it's going to look a treat when you look through here and it's all lit up at night. And that's nearly it for the day. We've just got a few more rows to put on. I'm waiting for Ed to get to the bottom. Then I'll whiz round to the rip saw and do a little upright rip to finish it off, which will look beautiful above the oak overloads that we made. So at the bottom, we're going to finish with 2 upright rips, and they're going to be 44 millimetres. So I'm going to mark that on one of these. Let me get my tape measure over on the chop saw. I'm going to mark those on 44, and that's what we're going to rip through. I'm going to rip those through. Basically, we'll sight that up there until we're at 44. There we go. Lock him off, give him a try. That gives us a really nice rip at 45, which will finish where the last cladding board comes down. This will finish there to give us a really nice detail. Let's go give it a try. So we've got this nice rip here, which is just a nice way of finishing down to the oak there. So we'll just ease that back and we'll get it so it's in line there. And we'll put a pin in through all of that. That'd be absolutely lovely. One there as well. The same at this end. And that gives us a super nice finish. We're nearly done. Ed's just putting that lovely little scribe fillet in the bottom there, which just closes it all up and gives us a really nice junction between this lovely Thermo Wood cladding and our oak over the top. So yeah, he's just going to pin that in, the last few fixings into the rafter. It really is a nice job. So that roughly gets us to the finish of that job today. It's been a great day, you know, when you get a nice bit of material and you can just do something creative and oh, it just looks great, doesn't it? So we have got some cladding score on there, which we said earlier is going to match those dormers up there, which if you haven't seen the video, you can see those. So I don't need to film this one and put it on the video for you because we've done it before. Check back in the channel. If you're new to the channel, please consider subscribing, and thanks to everyone who supports the channel, from buying me a coffee and also the super thanks. It does go appreciated, and we're super happy to do all of these videos for you.